Dry heaves are gone, so am I.
I'll check with the doctor.
No. I'm here voluntarily. Just gotta check with me.
I'm sorry. Dr. Nolan left specific instructions.
House Season 6 begins with this double-length episode. It's really a feature film length and feature film in ambition, in scope, I think. It is a case of House coming to terms with his own damage and actually being shown a possibility of some other way of living and feeling and tentatively reaching towards that. It is as big a piece of growth as we have ever really seen from this character.
Can't keep me.
Dr. House, you look a lot better.
I am a lot better. No painkillers, no hallucinations. Leg hurts, but it's manageable. Great job. Gonna miss you. Want to start missing you as soon as possible.
The 2 hour that opens the season was a different process because we were, sort of creating from scratch a whole new world with all different characters in a new space. So it was much more like prepping a movie. And we went about it differently. I mean, we cast a bunch of the actors before we even had the script. And then the writers expertly wrote to the voices of those characters.
You want out. Just talk. Be honest. Try to work with people. Try to deal with people.
Okay.
Directing it was a challenge because it's usually, the patient or 2 or 3 guest cast members. But in this episode, it was more like 13, or it was a huge, very different cast. And none of our cast besides Wilson is in this 2-parter.
I understand you all had art therapy yesterday.
Maybe we can hang some of the new pieces on the wall.
Cuts your wrists, huh?
Greg, there are certain topics...
Oh, I'm sorry. Is suicide taboo? Gosh, if I'd broken a rule on my first date, I will kill myself.
House has various different relationships with the other patient, the other inmates of this institution. And the relationships change in the course of the film.
Who are you? You believe these guys? Lecturing me on manic depression. Like I couldn't write a book or two. I stopped taking my meds because I want to stop taking my meds, because nothing's wrong with me.
The character of Alvy is an absolutely fabulous one, and Lynn brought the most wonderful, sort of Tiggerish, enthusiasm. He just sort of bounced. He bounced his way through it.
2-1, that's game. Hey, House is back. Come on. I need some meat. I got no one left to play.
I'll play you.
Girl, come on, House. I play Juan Alvarez, a.k.a. J.A., a.k.a. Alvy, a.k.a. whatever he thinks of at that time, and I'm House's roommate. I'm a better baller and a better rapper, what? And I'm good at basketball, too. When House and I first meet, it's sort of I'm back in the hospital. I'm in and out, and I'm really sort of this whirling dervish. Thank you, hold your applause. It's great to be back here in Mayfield, not just for the food, not just for the ladies. Well, okay, maybe just for the ladies. I don't think House takes too kindly to Alvy at first, but I think Alvy's just sort of relentless. Tell me my mind works too fast. Probably tell Usain Bolt he runs too fast. You eat sour cream and onion chips? I mean, the whole point is the dipping. Sure, we save time by not adding the mix to the sour cream, but you're missing out on the...
I need you to break into Nolan's office.
Commando style.
He's manic, I suppose. A psychiatrist would say he has a manic personality, but it's an infectious kind of enthusiasm, which actually, of course, House is about the only person who can't be infected by that kind of thing because House is such a hard-bitten cynic.
This is my new roommate, House, y'all.
But even House eventually sort of relents, and he and Alvy strike up an unlikely sort of a friendship, kinship almost. It's very touching. I think it's a very touching relationship.
New plan?
Yep.
What is it?
I don't know yet.
They sort of bond over the fact that they're sort of stuck together in this asylum, and they kind of band together against the doctors in a sense. So they find they have a lot in common. Yo, I just wanted a little snackle. That ain't right. Yo, I didn't know the machine was moved. I want some rinse bits. Yo, I might be pregnant. It really becomes this crazy partnership, this symbiosis, where Alvy will do whatever, and House is sort of, he's the puppet master.
So how do we start?
I think we just start. Make it good. Make it real.
The shooting of the scene in which I beat up Alvy was a difficult thing to stage, and we got a stuntman there, and, we have to go through all those sort of mechanical things. Ah! But I sort of believed that somehow. I believed it. I thought that sort of crazily buoyant vitality of that character is that he would put himself in harm's way for a friend or for the hell of it. He's a little bit nutty.
Dude, that was awesome.
And it's really rather touching, the fact that he goes through it with such relish. And even when he's been beaten up and he's got blood coming out of it, he's sort of going, you know, it worked. Which is very sweet. It's very sweet.
Think Hal will mind if they're wet.
Dr. Nolan, the director of the hospital, his house's adversary is how he seems at the beginning. And these two characters sort of begin at opposite ends of the spectrum.
You're a natural leader. You could do something useful down here for them. Definitely for you. Or we could keep fighting. If you think you can break me. If you think I'm not every bit as stubborn as you. I have never seen an episode of House, but a certain amount of ignorance is good in a certain way, you know, because I am a stranger to the world of House, so I know just enough, I think, in order to put things together. So tell me, what's on your mind? What do you want? Not a lot is revealed about Dr. Nolan, but I suspect that he is, in essence, very much like House. You know, he's a man who dedicates himself almost entirely to his work, who has some control issues, and wants to make things work out his way. You need to stop fighting the system. You need to let me do my job.
Nolan's goal is to get House to just take a risk, just trust people, see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but just roll the dice. And this is something that House hasn't done, I suppose, for as long as he can remember.
I want you to trust people. Try.
Andre I had worked with a long time ago, and the notion of House sort of meeting his equal in the psychiatric world, for me, he had to have a very strong presence and equal parts masculinity. So there's a lot of testosterone in the sessions.
He just wants to take a swing at me. You don't care about getting out. You don't care about anything else.
Nolan is not in a position of sweetness and light himself. He is, in his own way, a damaged, lonely man.
I don't need you here to play this game.
And these two characters sort of come together to meet and find some common ground.
Two things just happened. You got hurt, which means you connected to someone else strongly enough to miss them. And more important, you recognized the pain and came to talk to me instead of hiding from it in a Vicodin bottle.
Having an entirely different cast was a huge task, but it was very exciting because these sort of diversions are kind of a fun departure for us.
It's so much fun to work on this episode because there's a little bit of everything.
Whenever we get to sort of stretch and tell stories slightly differently, but being honest to the character and the development, we get psyched.